must have liked that.
Yeah, it must have, yeah, I think
Dad
he
likes all the tributes.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I have a 30-year story with Richard. I'm going to try to tell it as quickly as possible.
And you are?
My name is Craig Varian. I lived in Carrollton, Georgia from 1987 to 2000. I'm going to assume that at least half the people here are aware of Banning Mill and have probably been in it and probably knew how integral Richard's art was to the mill. To me, they were inseparable. I first heard about the mill in 1988 from my dear friend Gregory, who unfortunately could not be here today. And the mill seemed like a magical place. I didn't think it really existed. I thought he was kind of pulling my leg when he described it. And especially because he's like, well, you can't get out there anymore unless you've got like an invite. And so it took like about 5 or 6 years, but we finally met somebody that lived out there and we got an invite to go out there, and he took me out there, and he hadn't been out there in years either. And that whole day it's something I had kind of been obsessing about the mill for a long time, just kind of in the back burner of my mind. And when we finally went out there, I was like, God, I can't believe this is actually going to happen. And I just had like a simmering feeling that my life was going to change when I went in this place, and it did because of Richard. We were having our little tour through the place, and it was blowing my mind, and kept seeing all this amazing artwork. And we went down this one hallway, and I started getting like, God, the hair just stood up on the back of my neck, and I had this certainty that I was about to see something that was going to change my life. And that's when I saw, Chris, can you put the picture out?
Yeah,
That's when I saw the picture that Chris is going to try to grab for you guys. I have a smaller version of it here, but I've been told, yeah, that one. So this really happened. It was such a, I'm making this about me and I'm sorry, but what I'm really trying to get across is the impact Richard's art and anybody's art can have on another human being. The image that I saw changed who I was that day. At that time, I was young, out of college. I was lost. I was on a lot of drugs all the time. I knew I was an artist. I had no focus. I had all these images in my head and all these images and sounds of music that I knew that someday I would do. And that visually I had an idea of what someday I would do. And when I saw this picture that I promise will come up here in just a second, all of that loose stuff it just came into like sharp focus, and I knew suddenly like I had my artistic vision. I knew that there was somebody in this backwoods town that was as weird as I was and saw this, and I didn't understand why his art wasn't world famous, at least on a cult level. Like, how did he just not have thousands and thousands of followers? And this is speaking to a specific period of his artwork. I guess it was towards the end of his photographic art, before he got the instructions from the crystal being to stop doing that. But his artwork, and I can also say this for Gregory, who's not here too, I mean, there she is. I saw this image, and she's huge. She's like 3.5 feet wide by 5 feet tall. She's just absolutely enormous. And I saw her, and she was all moldy and mildewed, and I was like, I have to have her. and for like the next year or two, I just fixated on this picture in the back of my mind and ended up going out to the mill a lot. I met Mike McGuckin earlier today, who owned the mill at this time. And I think Richard used to kind of pay him in paintings, because what did Jim, you were talking about the Hill deals? I had a Hill deal too, where I got some art out of Richard for giving him like a Neolithic knife or something, like, you know. But I guess he was paying, or Mike was buying his art, and his art was all over the place. And this one image, something about it just hit me. I assumed for 30 years I puzzled over this picture. I knew the name Richard held, but I'd never met him. I knew that was Carol in the picture up at the top, but I didn't know anything else. I just knew that Carol was his wife, and that we were sometimes in the same areas of Carrollton, but never overlapping. I was